All right, let's call the meeting to order. Lamar is on vacation, and so I will take over running the meeting for him. So let's do the adoption of minutes from July 3rd and July 17th.
So moved.
Okay. I second that.
Is that for both,
Mm-hmm.
or one at a time?
Both.
Okay.
Okay. Makes it easier for me. Okay. Motion to pay.
Hold the phone there,
You vote.
Vice President.
Oh, okay. You need to take a vote.
Yeah, Mr.
Okay.
Crockett,
Yes.
and Mr. Beecher.
Yes.
Okay. So, motion to approve payment of bills to the tune of $47,605.83.
That doesn't even cover MSA's pocket change. Cash, I mean.
Let's see, it's a lot of money to me. But, general, $4,142.49. Fire, $27,367.01. Cemetery, $94.74. EMS billing, $6,554.98. Road and Bridge, $9,446.61. May we have a motion to approve payment of those bills?
So moved.
I'll second that. And may we take a vote?
Mr. Crockett?
Yes.
Mr. Beecher?
Yes.
Okay. Under correspondence, trustees received Old Mill News Magazine, Great Lakes Chapter Spoon Meeting Announcement, League of Women Voters Newsletter, and Ohio LTAP Newsletter, CareWorks Claims Report, OTA Monthly Newsletter, email from OTA regarding 8/4/17 legislative alert and information. Emails regarding the new fire station and USDA application. Emails regarding MSA contract approval. Email from MVRPC, review of proposed new transportation projects. Email from county auditor, lots of emails. Email from auditor of state office, registration for combined IPA conference.
Is that a beer conference?
That sounds like, what's IPA?
It's a beer.
It's a beer.
It's a type of beer.
Yeah.
I didn't get pale ale.
I learned this somewhere else. Clearly.
Don't mind the distractions.
Are we all going to
We'll
this
discuss that
conference?
later.
Oh, later.
Okay,
Now we
email
don't get
from
to hear.
from Attorney Hayden, local jurisdiction sued for opening meetings violation. And I didn't read that one. Email from County Health Department regarding West Nile virus detected. Greene County Public Health meeting announcement. Green Soil and Water Conservation District newsletter. Greene County Council on Aging newsletter. Email from ESC regarding upcoming meetings. Emails regarding headstone installation. And fund status and revenue report from Margaret. And the information is available on our website, so.
Aren't you gonna ask if there isn't any additional
Absolutely.
correspondence?
I was going to ask that.
Okay. I have one additional piece of correspondence from Stephanie Hayden, speaking of Devil.
Email?
Yes, on an open meetings refresher course that they're going to host September 27th, I believe it is. I'll leave it, an official announcement where it is,
Okay.
on the correspondence table.
Um,
Because I suggest we all go, because there has been more than a little problems in the state of Ohio with an operation called Coast, Citizens, something or other, open meetings, I don't know, but they've been targeting certain jurisdictions and going meticulously through their meetings and their minutes and see that all these, you know, that it all matches up, and some do and some don't, and then they sue you for $100,000, and the lawyer gets $99,000, and you get $1,000, and you still have, they get $1,000, they still have to pay. So, the prosecuting office is pretty concerned that everybody be on the same page and fully aware. And I know we all take open meeting, you know, roles, courses during you know, the course of our term, but it wouldn't hurt to hear it again.
Wouldn't hurt me one bit.
And especially
I
in
got my
Miami,
master's in
especially in Miami
commerce.
Township now, we've got such a large project going on, people are gonna be interested in. There's a lot of opportunity for us to just have, you know, oh, well, we'll get together, we'll talk about this, or Nestor's here, let's, you know, let's stop by and see what he wants, and, you know, that sort of thing.
Sure.
And, you know, you get a couple of those, and a couple of people who figure those things out, and, you know, we're in trouble, so we're gonna have to be real careful about that.
Okay, but the announcement of where the meeting is it's in the other room, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, actually, it's right here,
You want
but
to-
that's the only one, it's the only correspondence that additional I have.
Okay. All right, then let's move on to fire department.
Right. Since the last board meeting, there've been 44 EMS calls, 13 fire calls, 3 fire safety inspections. Fire calls include a kitchen fire on 68 North that Houston put up for us, which was very nice of them. Because there was some problem with dispatch work, we're still trying to determine what happened, but they didn't dispatch any of our fire engines for the fire. So guys who got the call on their phone looked at it and figured it was mutual aid just for the ambulance, and that's what they did. They took the ambulance and found that there had been a small kitchen fire, very little damage, just a stop fire, but it still
Yeah,
did work.
The bigger issue was it could have been.
Yes, so we're trying to discover, I mean, Houston did a great job, got there really quickly, but we're trying to figure out, Mindy is working on that to see why the dispatch computer recommended all the red trucks, but somehow they didn't get dispatched, so she's trying to figure it out.
So, the recommendation came here?
When the dispatcher takes the call and they start putting it in the computer,
Mhm.
the CAD system makes a recommendation based on the call type, so they put in building fire. And it popped up with all our, you know, both our fire engines, plus 2 more and all this other stuff. And she showed me where it had that recommendation, but then further up in the line of stuff where the dispatcher has to accept the recommendation.
Mhm.
They have to like touch the screen and then it puts everything in. They accepted it, but at that point, all of our fire engines weren't in it, so it might be some kind of bug in the CAD system. So
So they're looking.
we're trying to figure that out.
Okay.
People will go first things first, I'm probably trying to figure it out for us right now, so.
So Houston wasn't told to send their fire trucks.
They were.
just- Oh, they were?
No, they
told.
were. Yeah, they would have been on the alarm anyway.
Oh,
So I mean, it all worked out. Everyone else who was supposed to show up showed up, except us. Well, except our ambulance. Bob and Ted were very surprised when they pulled up and, this is in Martin Township.
you carried out a dead kitchen. No.
Well, they actually drove past it, thinking it was in Clark County,
Yeah.
because so they went and they cut to
Well, because it was mutual aid.
past Houston, coming to Martin Township, and thought, something's not right. Turn around. So, we have or you have a resolution in front of you, 2017-26. We classify one of our volunteers into part-time status, which is Evan France, volunteer firefighter EMT. Volunteer firefighter EMT.
Good.
So he can help, basically with just fill-in purposes, helping out, cover holes and that type of stuff.
I'll move to adopt resolution 2017, or, yeah, 2017-26.
I'll second that. And may we take a vote?
Mr. Crockett?
Yes.
Mr. Reacher?
Yes.
We'll get a corrected copy to me.
I will. Oops, I didn't. That's why you have to use templates. And that brings up, just a heads up, we're working on a recruiting campaign. We are hiring volunteers. We've had a couple apply and they can't pass the background check, unfortunately, some criminal history stuff. So we've got to come up with some kind of campaign to get people, because our EMT numbers are way down, and our schedule this month is chock full of holes, so. we gotta take care
So,
of that.
what's a criminal background check? Is it very strict or?
The state has strict requirements for people to become certified. Firefighters are more strict than EMT, believe it or not. Firefighters, there's pretty much even, anything that's more than a misdemeanor 3 will get you, they won't allow you to be certified. The EMS side is a little bit weirder because the way the ORC is written about that, it tells you things that they don't like, but they don't give you specifics, and the EMS board in the state makes the decision after someone applies to become certified, which is after we've paid to put them through an EMT class. So in theory, we could pay to put someone through an EMT class, and the board does a background check and says, no, we don't want that person. And then
Has
we're
that
out.
ever happened?
No, we've lucked out and caught that in before. Firefighting is upfront and personal. Any felony, any misdemeanor above an M3, any kind of sexual type thing, you can't be a firefighter.
A misdemeanor 3 is,
I don't know what exactly that would be. There's 5 levels of misdemeanor in Ohio. And like an M5 is like a jaywalk. I mean, it's puny.
which I do.
And an M1, yeah, we need to talk to you about that. An M1 is more like petty theft, that type of stuff, so.
I can't remember right now, but a certain level of misdemeanor can be heard in mayor's court, and once it goes
Right.
up to a certain point, you have to go to municipal court.
Yeah, I think it's a 4 and a 5 to go to mayor's
Yeah.
court.
So you could, that gives you an idea. Traffic offenses,
Treason.
are low level, they're not gonna stop you. But the things that you don't hear about in the Hill Springs News are what will stop you.
Right, exactly, yeah, good point. So we're working on that. And then, mark your calendars now, it's time again for the Clifton Ice Cream Social,
Uh-huh.
my favorite event. So it's scheduled for, tentatively, we're just waiting for Sue's okay, for August 22nd at the Clifton Shelter House and Pie Hut in downtown Clifton. from 6:30
And
to
then that
8:30.
coming up weekend, they have a music festival.
Then that weekend is the Clifton Gorge Arts and Music Festival.
Mhm.
Did you say August 22nd?
Yes, Tuesday night, August 22nd.
That'll be the day after our next meeting, we'll be well warned by then.
And ready for ice cream
Mhm.
and hot dogs.
Do you know what kind of ice cream?
No, but we'll take requests.
Okay, I'm open to.
We usually do chocolate and vanilla, it's easy to satisfy most people. We don't want to give people a Clifton too many choices. So with that
It
hand.
goes to their heads.
Because I think that Young's does a seasonal black walnut ice cream that is particularly good.
Yeah, we don't usually go that fancy, we usually just go to GFS and give them bulk ice cream.
Well, you admit it at least.
That's not bad.
Bring your own walnuts.
Yeah, exactly, we'll mix it in for you.
They'll use it anyway.
And that's it for us.
That's a terrible sales pitch.
The people at Clifton look forward to this with bated
Mhm.
breath. They're always waiting for us when we get there, so they want their ice cream. Things are slow in Clifton.
I don't have anything further for Chief.
No? Okay. Let's see, I think item number 6 is the new firehouse report. Contract with MSA Architects.
All done. Station's ready to be moved into. Esther just wants some.
Any spiel tonight, Esther, or just hoping for a legible signature. That's-
Well,
we're
is
good
it
for
one
either.
signature or three signatures? I don't know.
Does it need to be legible?
Just needs to be legal. I don't have anything in particular to say, other than, I know it's been a long time coming, we started working with you guys, I was talking to Alex earlier, it was 2011. We started looking at, response time mapping and site locations and all that, so it's been a long time coming.
2011.
Yeah.
And a projected 3 and change amount for the building.
Yeah,
Double.
and the numbers are only going up. Escalation, every project we deal with now is that the sooner we can build it, the better off we are.
Does anybody have any questions or comments for Nestor before we get to the resolution part of the program, and we can pepper him afterwards if necessary.
Sign the deal.
But questions regarding the contract, anything? Okay, hearing none, I've got a resolution before us tonight, it's 2017-27. Briefly, it does say a regularly scheduled meeting of the board, that's tonight. Whereas voters of Miami Township overwhelmingly voted on May 2nd to support the issue to replace Miami Township's obsolete fire rescue facility, and whereas board trustees advertised in the paper of general circulation for qualified architects who could provide professional services needed to construct the facility, and whereas in accordance with procedures set forth in Ohio Revised Code, section 153, 65 through 73, for townships to contract with professional services for an architect, and whereas in accordance with aforementioned procedures, Miami Township entered into negotiations with Michael Schuster and Associates Cincinnati, the most qualified architectural firm as scored by designated members of the Township Fire Rescue staff, and now therefore be it resolved, after being presented with scope of service and a detailed scope of service and cost for that service, Miami Township wishes to formally contract for the services of MSA Cincinnati to provide architectural design and all items spelled out in the detailed scope of service. For a second,
Yes.
Mr. Crockett seconds. Any further comments? I'm just
Maybe
reading it as
take
I
a
wrote it. May we vote, please, Margaret?
Mr. Beecher,
Yes.
Mr. Crockett,
Yes.
so I'll need a clean copy of that one as well,
Uh-huh.
the draft.
Yep. We got it.
Cool.
Okay, we. Do you wanna sign the draft, or do you want anything?
Why don't we do this,
This evening?
as soon as we hear back from the attorney on those couple of comments,
Uh-huh.
we initiated the document, so we would need to, through the AIA software, accept all those changes to create the original.
Oh, okay, sure.
So as soon as we get that language, we'll create an original. Are you okay with electronic signatures back and forth, or do you need actual ink or copy signatures? I can go either way. I mean, if you like, I could do I could do 3 copies, ink signature, and then just send them up here to you. Typically we sign first,
Yeah,
and then the owner signs second.
yeah, that's good. USDA, I don't know, requires 4
Okay, 4. Okay.
original signature
Okay.
copies. So
They-
however that works out,
They want 4 for themselves?
they want 4 for themselves, yeah.
Okay. 4 for them, one for us, 1 for you. I'll throw in an extra, so we'll do 7. We'll do 7 originals then,
Okay.
just to play it safe.
Is that like that, is that the contract? All
Yes, it'll be a little bit thinner because this has all of the strikeouts and additions and all that, so some of that will go away.
We don't need those for a while. What we need probably first is the architectural review, the required for USDA, which
USDA.
I sent you, right?
Yes.
Okay. Because I met with Ashley Kelly today and went over the application. This is a friendly application for the $5.75 million. And that doesn't include the 4 copies of the contract either. But he said they will review the copies and the architectural review at the same time. So having the copies first it's no help because they're not gonna do anything, so there isn't a rush on that. But the next item of business for us to hopefully obtain from you, and I don't know what the timeline is for that, but you can help us out with that, is this architectural review. So when you get a chance.
Well, we can, going through the formality tonight, I mean, even though we don't have it executed, it's approved, we're ready to start.
Okay,
I don't think there's anything holding us back nor the township back from commencing with the services.
okay. All right, very good. If we could, just agree that that's the way we wanna go. Okay. Great. Next question was, as I said, we went through that contract today, and part of it was a budget on the construction cost, and this is the copy I gave you. These numbers were generated from that rough spreadsheet that you had brought with you when you did the original detailed scope of service. I just wondered if you thought they looked about right. And the only real question I had about it, and what Ashley was wondering, was number 10, equipment, and my memory might be failing, but the 160, that was for all the miscellaneous stuff, right? The refrigerators and freezers and washers and dryers and
Right.
and hose dryers and this, that, and the other thing, and that was all gonna be supplied by us, correct?
Correct, and
Okay.
this breakdown is a little bit different than what we were using, so I'm sure that some things had to go into different buckets.
Uh-huh,
160 sounds a little high, but I'm assuming that like your radio system is in there, you're considering that equipment. Again, like extractor, dryer, kitchen equipment, refrigerators, telecom services, any of that kind of stuff that's not in the construction contract is in there.
okay.
Yeah.
Is any of that stuff, can any of that stuff like from here be used there? I mean, like the
Yeah.
washer and dryer?
Yeah, I mean, some of that can be, we haven't gone through and looked at inventories and all that, but if there is equipment that can move over, certainly. You know, radios are, the radios, the handsets and all that certainly, but the black box that receives a tone drop and all that, I don't know if that's something that can be reused or if it's outdated. and
PNR and
uh,
see what they think.
For 5 and 6, other architectural engineering fees, $50,000, project inspection fees, $40,000. Is that ballpark?
Project inspection fees, that might be a little bit high. I'm assuming that's gonna be for concrete testing and geotech testing and so on and so forth. We can start to look at some proposals for that. At least get some closer ballparks on that. Now your other, I'm not sure what you're putting in the other architectural and engineering fees. I'm not sure what that's to capture. Is that, because our A&E fees are number 4. So I'm not sure what the 50 would be under 5.
Okay. This form doesn't go in until the whole thing goes in.
Yeah,
the whole
so there's still
application.
some time to
Yeah.
finesse that.
Right.
Okay. And then I know we had talked about, and I'm sorry, maybe we're getting in the weeds on this tonight here, but I know we had talked about a few weeks ago the RFPs for the geotech.
Yeah.
And I just think I sent a sample
Mhm.
RFP. Is that something that you wanted to pursue or you want us to pursue?
I was hoping you would.
Okay, we can do that.
Okay.
We'll send that to some geotechnical engineers and then we'll assemble the information for you and then handle that for you.
Okay, thank you.
What is an architectural site review? Was that whatever you said was the next step?
The architectural review, that's a USDA requirement for the financing.
Okay.
And I don't remember exactly what it entails, but that's with the project description and the site and the preliminary site plan and all that. I think we have assembled everything we need for that. I know we were gonna put together a master schedule for you. I don't recall if there's anything else that was lacking on that list.
Of course, the big one here, construction cost of 4, 5. I don't know how we can do this with 4 or 5. Yeah, but we got $500,000 plus for contingencies, is that right?
Yeah, that seems a little bit high at this point.
I know we kept 10% for contingencies. But I haven't built any fire stations lately, so.
Well,
Yeah.
certainly these numbers don't, you're not penalized if you don't spend it all.
Correct. But it would be nice if we don't need that in contingencies or these other fees or whatnot. It'd be nice to know that we could then use it on the building.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're not cutting things out because we think we can't afford it.
Yeah.
I mean, there are two ways to look at estimates, you know, and one is the lower it is, the better off you are, but at some point, if it's so low, you ask yourself, what did I shortchange myself on? You know, what did I give up when I got all this money left over? You know, so, you know, we always wanna be under budget, absolutely, but we try not to be 20-30% under budget, cause then you're sitting there saying, boy, I really could have used that other apparatus bay, and now I'm never gonna get it again.
Yeah.
So, so that's, to your point, yes, there's nothing wrong with, you know, if we have money left over, we don't have to spend it. But it'd be nice to have these breakouts to be a little bit more accurate,
Yeah.
so that we're putting it
Yeah.
where we need it.
I agree with you, you know, you can look at a site like the site we have, and it's in between, it's not virgin site,
Mhm.
so it could have some problems, but
Right.
it's, on the other hand, it's not, you know, the worst site where you could anticipate lots of problems, so
Yeah,
you have to
yeah.
make your figures match
You know, there
that.
wasn't a dry cleaner or a gas station on that site.
Yeah, you're not gonna be digging up buried tanks,
Right.
right, so that's good.
Yeah, we
But
hope
on-
there was not a dry cleaner.
But on the other hand, there was construction there before, and that
Right.
can cause us
I didn't
problems,
get
so,
too
yeah.
far through it.
Yeah, and
And
I
I
understand.
assume that that's
there was
how
a
you're
lot-
working on those figures, it's the likelihood of
Exactly.
complications.
Exactly, right. So I think, so to what you were saying, Chris, 10% of contingency would be reasonable, and if your construction is 4.513, I mean, you could take 50,000 out of that 501 and still be at 10%.
Mhm. Well,
When we were figuring these out, we were going with numbers that were already given to us, plus trying to bring it up to.
To the
right.
6
Yeah.
one at the bottom.
so if, you know, you get a chance, you want to look at some of those and
Yeah, I'll
revise
do
them
that.
for us.
And then I think we need to acknowledge, I don't think the FDA is going to hold you to the individual numbers per se. I mean, they're gonna hold you to the bottom line,
Mhm.
but I think.
But they're gonna decide whether they're a reasonable mix.
Correct, though, up front whether they're reasonable, but, you know, as the project progresses, some of these may go up and some may go down, as long as that bottom line is not exceeded. And certainly at the end of the job, the contingency goes to zero, because you either put it back in your bank account or you spent it on something you needed.
Where do you, like, access control for the building and security, is that in construction or?
That would be in
that's-
construction.
Okay.
Card readers and.
Yeah, retina scans.
Mhm.
Yeah, again, just because we went through it, the Kettering facility, I thought it was great, their access. It's like a little fob that you start your car with.
Mhm.
You just walk up to it and
Right.
swipe it, and the master person can code in what that numbered fob could go in, you know, what,
What doors, what times,
Yeah,
Yeah, the
everything.
time, exactly, time,
Yeah.
you keep an audit trail so you know who went into what door when,
Yeah,
if
I
something
think
goes
that's
missing.
fabulous.
And that's how you learn if
You
you.
pay a little bit of money for that system up front.
You do, right, you do, but it's adaptable and flexible, and you don't have to worry about if somebody loses keys, all of a sudden you're rekeying the whole building, cause,
Yep.
yeah, so in that sense.
Hmm.
No, and it is
you just
well
avoid-
proven
Some
to
of those
work.
are their fob, you just avoid the fob and
Yeah.
everybody else is okay.
It's nice to have the audit trail feature as well, so we've had those issues before where
Yep.
something is missing and with a key, you can't really tell, but.
and when people were here, when they weren't supposed to be here too.
Yep, so.
All right, so that's something to look forward to, in the future. Richard, as long as you're here this evening and Nestor's graciously joined us, you have mentioned more than a few times to more than a few people some concerns about the design of the building, the
Well,
preliminary
based
design.
on what sat over here.
Uh-huh. It's there, you wanna point it out, anything in particular to?
Well, I was concerned about the amount of glass in the building, or because, and quite simply, the last building that I worked on that had a huge amount of glass, they ended up doing all kinds of things like tinting the glass, putting up shades, because they were getting too much light, too much glare, too much heat, all of those problems. It looks wonderful, but it tends not to be practical in terms of use and in terms of energy efficiency.
I can make a couple comments towards that. I mean, anytime you have to do something after the fact, then absolutely that's a problem. You have to come in and put films on glass because it gets scratched and scraped and bubbled and all that kind of stuff. We've been doing, especially in apparatus space, a lot of glass. We do tint the glass when, for example, the comment would be two things on that one that would be apparent would be the apparatus bay doors and then also the monitor, the roof monitor up there. One of the things that we find is apparatus bays that don't have a lot of daylight in them, you're burning lights in them all the time, which is consuming energy, even if nobody's in there, or one person walks in and you light the whole thing up. So we've been doing a lot of glass doors and skylights in apparatus bays just so that you don't have to burn the lights during the day.
And how does that balance with heating and cooling costs?
I was going to say, so first of all, you're not cooling the apparatus space, so that's a non-issue, but you still want to minimize your heat gain, so you don't want it to cook in there either. We do an insulated glass, low E coating, and some of the glazing that's available these days is really pretty high performance glass, and you're not paying a huge premium for that.
And you can do that in the overhead doors?
Absolutely, yeah, insulated glass in the overhead doors, we do it all the time. Yeah.
Is there much of a premium to that versus a solid door?
There is. I can't tell you off the top of my head what the percentage premium is, but that again is something that we can talk about when we get through the design. Which much glass do you want? We have done, we've done stations where on the front, and again, a lot of it is just public image and show and people being able to see there's activity and there's equipment and sense of pride in that. We'll do more glass on the front, and then on the back, if you don't really have a lot of visibility or views, we just do the insulated sandwich panel, solid metal doors, and maybe do one. You can mix and match. That type of door would be an aluminum stick frame, aluminum style and rail with glass or infill panel. But you can do one section of the sectional door with the all glass, and then do the insulated metal above and below it. So you can, there's not those commercial little holes that you get, but actually a row of glass, or 2 rows of glass, or 3. So we can study that as we get further in design.
I'm responding to a project that was done 20 years ago, and technology may be significantly different.
Yeah.
But I also know that glass is heavy, and insulated glass is even heavier,
Right.
and then moving it around is a big job, and that we bump into it. I mean, even when it's tempered glass, so what doesn't need to be there for light or for safety, for visibility, probably shouldn't be, is my gut feeling.
Yeah, we can definitely do that. As I mentioned, it doesn't have to be all glass all the way up and down. We can do the bottom. I think Fairborn, because we did the 2 new and the 2 renovations for Fairborn, and I believe on Fairborn we did the first bottom 2, so it'd be like 4 feet, were solid, and then we did glass from there up. We might have done like the top 1 solid as well. So you still have a really good amount of glass, and you can see in, you can see out, but those bottom ones, then you don't, kind of that kick zone, where you're walking by.
That just makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, and we've all seen and heard about when the truck pulls out before the door is completely open and clips that bottom panel. But those are things that you can't fix human error through technology.
But you can minimize the cost of fixing it.
You can do that, and then we also, I'm sure that Colin's seen this, and we've done it, other people do it in stations too. We put a little red light, green light at the door, and a limit switch, so it's red until the door is completely open, and you have to train your staff. You do not pull out until that light's green. If you pull out before it's green and you hit the door, you will be disciplined.
Yep. Those cutting stations have those big accordion.
The bifolds.
The bifolds that come back.
And I
The
saw
guy
that.
says it's great, but they're incredibly expensive.
Yeah, I saw that note in here, and I know they did them there, and we have, I'll be honest with you, we have had probably about 1 out of every 4 fire chiefs brings that up and asks if we can do that, can we get that, can we put that in our station? Most recently, Miami Township and Claremont County even asked. At the end of the day, when you realize that you can have a 3rd apparatus bay or 4 bifold doors, guess what Chief Kelly decided to do?
Well, it must be difficult how those doors track at the bottom, because you have to be able to drive over whatever.
Well, they don't have a
guides
bottom
them.
track.
They don't.
No, they're bifold, and I think they're like accordion.
Mhm.
The theory behind it, and again, you can tell where my personal opinion is, the theory behind it is that since you only have to open 14 feet and it's 2 doors, so each door is only going 7 feet, they open so much faster.
Oh,
But the reality is, if you push the button as soon as you enter the apparatus bay, by the time you get to your truck, you're in your truck, you shut the door and you turn the engine over, the other one's already open too.
Yeah.
Yeah. They look cool, but they're,
Yeah.
I've heard from many
Yeah.
chiefs that they weren't worth the investment.
Mhm. Right, not the best investment.
Anything else, Richard?
No, as I say, I just, had some quick knee-jerk reactions to looking at the pictures, and what I was told was, well, these were conceptual.
Yes,
These weren't
right.
what we were going to actually get.
Right.
I mean, I looked at the, I'm not even sure quite what it is on this picture, but the sort of the double roofs in the front and saying, oh, these pockets where there's a space with a roof under a roof is a
Mhm.
terrible I'm sorry, it's okay. I don't know what this is.
Oh, right,
But
Yeah.
this space under
Yeah, it's
here
an entry
is the kind of thing that
canopy and-
people have me constantly coming in and repairing.
Mhm.
So,
Oh, 'cause
I
it never
just-
really gets rain on it,
Yeah.
it's protected under another, yeah.
But it gets debris in
Right.
there because it's
Right.
closed off, and it's so small you can't get at it.
Yeah, no, you're right, these are conceptual. I think at the end of the day, the hope is that when you look at the final design, and you squint, and you look at that and you squint, you're like, yeah, it looks like it's about the same thing, but yeah,
And
but we're gonna have months of design and detailing, whereas that was over the course of a couple of weeks of getting an image together, right?
and quite
Sure, yeah, it was
honestly,
quick.
as far as my part in this, it's one tiny little room.
Mhm.
But as a citizen of the community, I have
Sure.
a different perspective.
Sure, right.
And even though I only have one tiny room, people ask me about what's going on, so I wanna be able to give
Okay.
clear answers.
Okay, well, I noted the glass issue here, certainly will.
Yeah, that's the one that stands out from this particular
Right.
picture.
Okay.
Nestor, what's the kind of drop dead date for when we simply have to have a firm floor plan to move forward and get this thing built?
So I apologize, we're gonna work on a master schedule for you, but I would say, so we were working backwards from like a February, March timeframe of having the bids.
Mhm.
And I think we were saying bidding in December, January. Is that what we said?
Yeah.
I think bidding was January.
Bidding in January.
Like late January, because design and everything was already done.
Right, right.
in
So
December.
we're really, we're gonna be developing the floor plan, I would say, over the next 30 to 60 days.
Okay.
I mean, in 30 to 45 days, you hope we have a pretty solid floor plan, which we've got a pretty good start at. By no means is this the final floor plan. And even at that point, there'll still probably be a little bit of tweaking and adjusting, some minor things. But, you do reach a point where you don't wanna start making major shifts because you're talking about a lot of major redraw.
Yeah.
So, we wanna, it's like anything, you wanna go from general to specific.
Mhm.
We wanna start narrowing things down, and then we can do little minor tweaks and adjustments to make it work. But we wanna get the overall pretty well set in the next, month and a half or two.
Well, I was just hoping it wouldn't be less than a month, because
Oh,
I thought that would have been.
You need time to react to it.
Right, yeah, back and forth.
Absolutely.
So good, all right. Colin, is that a good time,
Oh, yeah.
frame for you?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing, yeah, sooner the better. I got a retirement date coming up.
You quit talking about that?
I know we've talked about this over the last 5 years, but now that we actually have a
6
contract, 6, now that we actually have a contract, and if it's cool with you guys, it would be nice if we got a view or one of the team come in to a department meeting. A lot of the guys have ideas that
Yeah, absolutely.
I've said, why don't you tell that to the architect?
No,
I mean, well, some have said, no, that's not possible, but.
Now, we definitely like to do that, and then the other thing is, I know you've done this already, is, once we start developing, this was schematic, once we start developing something that's more real, come to the meeting, solicit feedback, leave plans, post them up, let people mark on them, arrows, notes, whatever it is, their comments, so we can gather as much as we can.
Nice.
Because it's always good to have other people looking at it. Somebody may see something that you or I or
Yeah.
anybody else didn't really pick up on, and we said, that's a good idea, and other times you see something and you say, no, it's not gonna happen.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's worth at least throwing it out there.
What helps me is putting notes on the drawings is saying, this space is this size because, or this is located here because, or something, so that I don't say, why'd you do that?
Right.
You know, in other words,
And
you just look at it and you say, you know, I'm only looking at it from my perspective, and then I have questions that of course you can answer very quickly, but if there's some information on the drawing besides just the dimensions,
Right.
it helps
Okay.
to know. Oh, this is because you asked to have the public be able to have a waiting room or something, and that may not be clear that it's a waiting room.
Yeah, it may not be apparent just by.
Just by the dimension drawing
Okay.
purposes.
Okay, well, I think we're good. Good for a start.
Yeah.
We're excited to go.
He said go back home.
He's gotta go home.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
But at least you don't have to cross
you
the
don't
bridge.
have to.
No, I don't have. It's not that bad. So I'll share, I told Colin, I said the unfortunate thing of this taking so long is that when we first started working with you in 2010, 2011, my daughter graduated high school in 2012.
Oh, you haven't been able to pay for any of her college education?
No, she
with
went
this?
to Wittenberg.
Oh,
And
oh, you've been
actually-
going back and forth.
And
last
she
year.
worked at Yellow Springs Brewery even her last 2 years.
Wow.
And I remember at that time thinking, oh, she's going to Wittenberg, this is great, I'll be coming up here for job meetings, I'll meet her for lunch, all
Yeah.
that stuff. And
Oh, yeah.
here she's now graduated, been working full-time for almost a year and a half, and yeah, I'm like,
Oh, well.
missed that opportunity, didn't we?
Well, you can always adopt a 11th grader.
Yeah.
He'll still be able to do it.
Exchange student, maybe.
There we go. Like, yeah, that plan didn't work out, did it?
No.
Okay, well, thanks for coming up.
You're welcome, she absolutely. Need me for anything else, or we're good?
I think we're good.
Okay, good.
We're good.
Thank you.
Yeah, free to go.
Absolutely.
The word of the day.
Or not, but you
You're
are.
also free to stay, I mean,
Well, the cemetery report's coming up. isn't it?
Yeah, you're missing some good stuff if you don't stay.
You say,
You can watch it online anytime, though.
That's true. You really can't get to sleep at night.
All right, I'll do that. All right, thank you. I'll be in touch about setting up meetings and schedule and all that stuff.
Great,
Okay.
very good.
Thank you.
Take care.
all right.
Tell Michael we said hi. Okay.
Let's move on to cemetery report.
Okay. Yeah, no activity, other than selling graves, no burials. So
Okay.
They probably come in hot and heavy and everything. But I've been selling a little bit up here, nothing in Clifton. Let's see, I haven't heard anything from Enoch yet. I called today, left a message. I'll hear back
Okay,
from him.
I'll call my guys tomorrow and have an estimate then.
Okay.
All right,
Well, I asked him, he said to get back to me.
okay. I hear you.
If I hear from him, I'll get the numbers from him. Okay. Any word on the fence? Any word on the fence?
I looked at it, I was overwhelmed with this application thing to get this done today. I've got to call the police and
Which fence?
ask them.
Yeah, I didn't know, I just talk about it and find out who hit it and what happened and
what fence are you talking about?
our fence at the cemetery up there, corner of Fairfield and Yellow. Fairfield
The
Yellow
old part of
16,
Clifton,
and the old part of the
the
cemetery.
lower part of Clifton, I mean,
Somebody
Glen
went up the
Forest?
hill and hit our fence.
hmm.
Yep,
Right across from the drive in Whitehall.
yeah. A big chunk is laying there. I
Wow.
haven't moved it.
So it was hit and run, or you don't know?
I don't know. And I found out through a local person said, oh, what happened to your fence?
I'll call police tomorrow, see
See
if
if
they got a
got
report, they got
report
some
on it, or
insurance.
whether the county or somebody done it.
Yeah.
Is that outside the limits, or would the village have done that?
No, oh, they could have, but it is outside the village.
Yeah.
So making highway patrol. I don't know who does the reports.
If it's that close, the village will.
Okay, they probably would have.
They won't just sit there and go, oh, it's all right, so.
That's a good place to start.
Yeah.
And sometime next week, hoping to maybe get the cemetery weed started. they're bad.
Yeah, but of course, it doesn't look a whole lot better,
I
but,
know, Jeff's supposed to spray Friday or today, and I think he sprayed today. It's kinda late, you know, but he's gonna go ahead and spray it, and, we need to let it sit for a few days before we go knocking it down.
Mhm.
Because crabgrass is coming on pretty hard,
yeah,
it's bad. That's on the plan.
yeah, okay.
That's all I
All right. Anything else, or?
No?
I have something, that's why I was just pushing it. Now I lost owner, there it is. Sunday afternoon, the Historical Society had a wonderful little program in the Glen Forest Cemetery, and it was based on, the core of the program was for the cannon and the retrofitting that hopefully there was, fortunately we didn't have any representative from the Oddfellows there to hype the program, but we did raise about $150 there on, at the time. And there was a fife and drum, crew, no, a crew was a trio, and they played, come on, be louder.
Nice.
RGAR had a couple of people that were in the fife and drum corps way back when.
Yep.
And I think that's the
Hopkins,
reason this
Joe.
is being
Uh-huh.
done
That's
here
what these guys
now.
were playing, they were playing all of their music, so.
Nice.
They played about 10 of these. It was kind of interesting.
Cool.
Yeah, and they were all dressed in their Civil War uniforms.
When was that, on Sunday?
That was Sunday, yeah.
Yeah.
Did the area look
Missing these
acceptable?
events.
Yeah, it looked nice. Thanks.
Hey, Rick,
Yeah,
I did.
bless your little heart.
I knew it looked pretty bad. I thought I better do something.
And you mow it down and there's all this debris in it.
Have you looked at your cannon lately?
No.
You need to look at it. It's growing.
Okay,
The cradle, it's that wide now.
okay, well,
I noticed that.
They,
Yes,
Separated
yeah.
on the west side.
Uh-huh.
It was like that, now it's like,
okay.
so I don't know whether we need to do something like cable it, chain it, something to cut it
Well,
all together.
I've got the materials together to take care of it, but the lodge currently is going in the direction of getting bids from people to do stuff, so.
One guy called me, what, a couple of
But I've also been busy enough that I haven't pushed trying to do it, so. But if it's getting to a point where more than just me thinks that something needs to be done.
Well, you need to take a look at it's your
Okay.
cradles where it sits.
Yeah, I know, I know what you're
Separated.
talking about, and all right, I'll try to get up there and look at it again. It doesn't take me long to look at it.
What's it weigh? I heard it was
15,000.
15,000.
It's stamped on the cannon itself, but it's like 15 tons or, no, 7 tons of cannon, maybe it's 15,000 pounds.
15,200.
7.5 tons, roughly. 7
But I've got the jacks and cribbing and everything to deal with it, so.
Well, you just gonna lift it.
Yeah, my concept was, after looking at it and finding the difficulty that there was of actually examining it, especially on the inside, that what we needed to do was support the cannon to the extent that you could take off at least one of the supports, and then you could both pass that around to people to see how they would fix it, you could examine it to see exactly how bad it was. And if you jack it up and crib it properly, it could sit there indefinitely without its support. I mean, not forever, but actually when the cannon was first installed, it was on wooden cribbing, because they had to raise the money to make those steel pieces on the sides. Anyhow, the real challenge is deciding how much you want it to be historically accurate. In other words, look like it does now when you're done. Because what was done originally was all riveted together.
Right.
There's no welding, and nobody rivets today. But welding is not anywhere near as durable of a way of repairing it. So it's balancing those issues. But it may be possible to use part of what's there
The skin?
either structurally or superficially to make it look good and have a structure.
Could use the
With it?
skins, just put a new frame in it.
That's what I'm
and save
saying.
the outside
You
skin,
might be
that'd be
able to do
nice.
something like that.
That'd be nice.
But the original work was all cut and folded and riveted steel. It's made up in Springfield.
We got
Road,
Say it's
sorry.
made up in
Road
Springfield.
department.
I'm helping.
Oh, that's right.
Okay, I'm working on ditches,
Okay.
finally. They look pretty bad.
Yeah, they do.
I'm on it, I'm on it. This year the weather.
Although, some of the sides.
Well, I'm on that, that's what
I saw you
started on
this
that today.
afternoon, the ground, you were working, how late you work?
I got back about 4:45.
Yeah,
I wanted to finish it up.
yeah, you were close.
Because I cleaned up tree branches and stuff that blew down Thursday night, and that was storm over, rolled through Clifton Cemetery branches, one up on the Tanyard that was on the road.
There were little bits of branches down
It was
everywhere.
like just a small area.
I mean, not blaming you, it's universal.
Mhm.
It hit here, but we didn't have anything in my neck of the woods, but we had stuff down that I got to clean up this morning.
Well, I'll tell you, if you're feeling bad, our roads are in good shape. I was up on Old Mill Road today, and there's vegetation growing in the cracks. You know, not just cracks, but green as you go along and say, well, that's been in bad shape for a while.
Well, you know, did the best we can.
Yeah.
Get in the ditches and get them cleaned up.
Yeah.
I will. Let's see, they haven't touched Carol Lamont as of today.
I went by today and they were both chip and seal.
They were?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't pay attention. 'Cause I didn't think they'd been there. So they've been there.
Yeah.
Okay, now all we're waiting on is the fault. So I know they haven't faulted
No.
yet. I've got a washout on Tobias Road. Have you seen it?
Haven't been down.
The water comes off the Vest property, runs across the road and goes in, it's washing out. So tomorrow I'm gonna go out there and do something in the morning first thing. Try to get some twos in there, it's undermining the road. So I gotta get something in there that won't wash out.
Is that where it washed out before, years and years and
Years ago, we
Years
got,
ago?
remember we had took it apart and
Uh-huh.
well, it's washed out again.
Really?
Does the
But
water
next
have,
to, right past where we
Oh,
fixed it the
yeah.
last time, and I've got some big stone in there, but it's doing this under the blacktop.
do we need a culvert?
We need a tile and a catch basin up in the Vest property.
Because
to
that
take it
water
down
that's
there.
crossing the road has to cross the road, right? There's no other place
And
for
we
it to
talked
go.
years ago to Mr. Best, and he didn't want it done. Yeah, and the guy that lives there in the front house now, I've talked to him, and he requested we check into doing something. And I said, well, we've been wanting to for a long time. So I have to talk to Mark Best, because he has the authority, and see tell him what needs to be done.
Yeah,
You just don't need like probably an 18-inch tile.
yeah.
And it'll go from the corner of their field straight across and dump out into there. So hopefully it'll alleviate,
So who pays for something like
probably ours, but are they, is any of it theirs?
No, because it's your road that you're
It'll
protecting.
be in our right of way.
Yeah.
Not unless it goes out into their field, then it's.
Well, I won't go out,
Yeah.
it's just in the corner, right? Everything comes down and goes right
Yeah.
there and then runs across, then
Yeah.
we need something. I'm kind of figuring out what to do there. How much you pay, how much prices and stuff. But I want to talk to Mark and see if he's interested in helping out at all.
How far below the road surface would it be?
Oh, probably 15. It won't be under the road, it'll be under their driveway.
Oh, just under their
Anything
driveway?
won't be, we won't disturb
Oh,
the
so
road.
it could
We'll
just be a smooth bore pipe, it doesn't
It
have to
could-
be a tile,
Yeah, just
actual
that's what,
concrete
just
or.
a regular old, something under their drive, double wall, so if they're gonna drive on
Yeah.
it. But across the yard can be just, like you said,
That shouldn't be so,
Plastic.
so expensive.
right. And the catch basin is probably gonna be more of the,
Yeah, just a stock catch basin.
let's see what else. I have. Oh, I'm gonna take Friday off. This Friday.
Okay, we get those ditches down.
I'm working. And then, should I give you my vacation time for September?
Why not?
Okay.
Give us something,
I
give
was
us something to
gonna
look
tell you
forward
all
to.
the
Something to
time
fight
I'm
about.
gonna be working. I will work the 14th and then be back to work on the 24th.
So you're gonna be on the 14th to the 24th?
You can put that down, I might work half a day 14th, I'm not sure. I'm leaving out of here that night, and I'll be back to work on the 24th.
Same old going to the
Same old.
beach.
And then
that? Which beach are you going to?
Merle,
Uh-huh.
the usual trek down south. I thought I'd better tell you now. Oh, that's all I have. You have something for me?
Okay. Let's move on to the fiscal officer's report.
So there's a resolution amending the permanent appropriations, and what I did was, I decided that since every month we're paying interest on our loan we took from West Banco, that, I just made a new line item for that specific payment. Because it's, right now, I was taking it out of other, this is a different other. Anyway, that's what this is about. So I created a new budget line, appropriation line, and put some money in there to get us through the rest of the year.
Okay.
Okay? So we can start, I mean, I can still track what we've spent so far on that interest, but this way I know,
Yeah,
it's.
because we're gonna recover all that.
Right, and yeah, it's just time to start separating that kind of stuff
Maybe
out,
the
right?
fire department's gonna pay us back for that.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
yeah, that's, I mean, that's,
But
I
it's-
just,
you
it's
want-
a good idea to just start separating
Margaret's
whatever I
gonna
can.
make it easy to know what to bill the fire
Yeah.
department.
Yeah, so, that being said, whereas it is an ongoing process to accurately appropriate funds according to the needs of the township, now therefore the trustees authorize a new budget line and an amendment to the following permanent appropriation. And basically, I created a new item, line item, 1,190-599, other, and, since there was nothing in there, I increased it by $1,131. That should cover our interest for the rest of the year.
Okay, I'd move for adoption of resolution 2017-28.
Okay, I'll second
Are we proceeding to vote?
Probably,
that.
Mr. Mueser?
yes.
Mr. Crockett?
Yes.
I don't think I have anything else.
Okay.
Any other questions for Margaret?
I haven't heard anything from the county yet about when the tax budget hearings are scheduled, and I can't wait, so. That's it.
Really looking forward.
No, yeah. I've become a professional at that, I'm sure by now, anyway.
I don't think so.
Although things change all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I don't have anything else.
Okay. So let's do the zoning inspector's report.
Why not? You know, I was only here, it's only been 2 weeks since I was last here, and I've issued 4 permits, but they're all for little tiny things. But, the Boy Scout camp is rebuilding their building on their shooting range, $18,000 project. Family on William and Mary Court is putting up a storage shed. Gerald Larimore and Stephen Donaldson out on Yellow Spring Fairfield are putting up a pole barn storage building. And Joe Jardulo and Denise Swinger are putting up a storage building on their property. So
I'm
all
sure you
those-
get a site plan and setbacks and
You know,
Yes.
every one of these, of course, well, no, William and Mary Court is not, it's residential, but all the rest of them are agricultural, where we have no setback requirements. But mostly, I explain to people that although, you know, there's not a lot of hoops to jump through, getting the permit will make it a lot easier for them on down the road if they try to do other things. For example, when they say, oh, it's just agricultural, and I say, you're gonna put electricity in it? Well, I might do that. And they're gonna call me up from the building department and say, is this legitimate? And so I have people come in and pay, you know, probably people out of pocket paid, you know, $20 here. But it keeps everything neat and tidy. I'm being a little bit of a bureaucrat. But that is pretty much the only thing that's taken place since I've last seen you. I've had no other meetings or activities that come to mind.
when's the, I assume you continued the,
Yeah, okay, to follow up on that, yes, on next Tuesday, week from tomorrow, the zoning commission will meet at their regularly scheduled meeting to complete their public hearing on amendments to the zoning code, primarily to the agricultural section. And because they did not have the recommendation from regional planning at the beginning of their public hearing, we now have that recommendation, and they will take that into account and then make their recommendation to the trustees.
So what was the continuation about?
About the requirement is that, and this was a mistake on my part, that when the zoning commission has a public hearing on a change to the zoning resolution, text or map, they have to send that change to regional planning for their review and comments before they make a recommendation to the township trustees. So I did quick work with Ken LeBlanc and got the appropriate information, and he processed it and sent back their comments, and now the zoning commission can take those into account.
And we're legal.
Yes. Which we want to be.
At all times.
We have to.
You know, it's interesting, you know, you were mentioning about staying legal on you know, open meetings and all, and it's unfortunate when we're pushed into that by something like what you were talking about, but it was interesting to me that I'm on the library commission for the village, and we were negotiating back and forth online about trying to get a meeting time. And it was all right if we were all responding individually, but if we responded as a group, Patty Bay said, wait a second, you know, now you're discussing something as a group, and that might not fly, even though it wasn't actually business before the commission, and so
That's right, yeah.
it's sometimes it's very subtle.
Well, and my complaint is that it's not intent, it's the nitpicky wording that becomes the source of the argument, the contention. When I'm reading various documents that we get, it takes a long time because I'm not familiar with the wording. So I'll read and reread and complain. You know, poor Chris has to occasionally hear me complaining.
Right, but you can only complain to Chris or to Lamar, but not to both of them at the same
Right.
time.
At the same time. No, we can't even do that. Because I'd say, well, I'll get you a speed reader, legal speed reader. That would be a decision that you have to make.
Yeah.
Decision. I have nothing.
No, it's even trickier when there's only 3 of you, because it's like 2 of you are a quorum or a meeting, so you almost can't talk to each other.
Yeah, almost, you're right.
So, no more questions for the zoning inspector? Any new business?
I have none.
Any old business?
We chewed over that old business.
In spirit of Lamar Spackman, I suggest we adjourn the meeting.
I suggest that we adjourn the meeting.
All right, trustee in training. We'll vote.
You notice I'm not on that list.
All in favor?
You wanted to do it first.